This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. You're listening to episode number 257. I'm actually not your host, David, and today's game will feature the Benchwarmer team of Scott and Marcus versus the team of myself and assistant coach for our Patreon team, Trevor Hogg. Let's start with Trevor. Trevor, why don't you tell us, it's been a while since you've been on, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to besides a baby who's not a baby anymore?
Yeah.
And you can also share our team name since you're the one that came up with it.
I'll be happy to, David. It's very self-serving for you. I am doing well. Yeah, I was saying it's been a while since I've seen you guys. It's good to see all of your smiling faces on here. Since I've last been on, I've moved into the first house.
Nice, congratulations.
We're expecting another baby here next month. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm coming to you live from that baby's room. So this was a perfect time to have me on a recording because in about a month I will be unavailable for several months. So this was the perfect time to have me on. So I'm thrilled to be here. And for the team name, I have long thought this: the David question gets a bad rap. I, for one, love a good David question. There's just something about it that warms my heart whenever I hear a David question come up on the podcast, and so. I'm trying to use this episode and the platform I have right now to put some respect on the David question. So with that, our team name today will be the David Question Fan Club.
Somewhere Josh Bomback is rolling his eyes and rolling them hard. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. My ego probably doesn't need it, but I appreciate the respect instead of the abuse for a change. All right. Well, that sounds great. So we're going to be the David Question Fan Club. And Scott, Marcus, how you guys doing?
Not much to say here. Everything is good here. 100% mobility and agility back to playing sports. Thankfully, it's been, a long road to recovery, but I'm back doing my usual thing. So everything is good on that front, and I'll just update you guys, of course, how all my seasons are going. And that's that. So I'm good. I'll throw it over to Marcus.
I'm good. I know I talked about this a couple of episodes ago. I tend to like to talk about the guys that move on to college and do well. And shout out to Jaden Ross Kelly for BYU. He finished fourth in the Big 12 in the decathlon. And Parker Duskin finished fourth in the Pac-12 in the 110 hurdles. So those are two former players that are doing well in track in college. And then spring ball starts in like 2 weeks. So Scott and I have always long been champions on this podcast of the WNBA. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but it seems like the W is getting more and more attractive. So with all due respect, and I mean that, Scott and I's team name today are going to be WNBA groupies because I would ride Cam Brink's back like a koala if I could. She could just carry me around and I would be totally cool with it.
Oh, I see that. Okay, got it. Ooh. All right, thanks for bailing that out. I was about to make a comment that WNBA groupies and the David Question Fan Club are two rapidly growing user groups, but
also very different. Very different.
Very different. No question about that.
And as a short king, like I have no problem just looking up at Cam Brink and saying uppies, and having her pick me up.
Perfect. All right. So we've got the David Question Fan Club and WNBA groupies. The only thing we do not have, because we have not introduced our special guest, assistant coach to our Patreon team, Drew Topp. Drew, how you doing this evening?
Doing great. Yeah. Have a lot of fun writing some questions for you guys. Playing daddy right now as well. Obviously, you guys saw my daughter there a moment ago. Obviously, we live in Indianapolis, so we've got Kate and Clark fever going on speaking of WNBA.
Nice.
We took her to the preseason game against the Atlanta Dream last Thursday, and she had an absolute blast. She absolutely loved it. So as soon as we got home, we bought the WNBA League Pass, and we've had that on the TV every chance we've had.
That's awesome. That's really cool. My older daughter lives in New York, and she wanted to go to some Liberty games. And that when Indiana comes to town, the tickets are going for like 3 times more than anybody else. It's bananas.
That's what we saw.
Yeah,
because that was the last 2 games were the Liberty and Fever, and we were looking like, hey, let's go and see if we can go to that New York Liberty game here. And any seats that were within, not nosebleed seats, were like 367. I'm like, yeah, maybe watch that one from home.
Nice. All right. Well, we got our teams. Drew, I want to thank you in advance for writing games. We love it when people write games. I also want to thank you in advance because if we lose and I hate the game, then I won't thank you afterwards. So anyway, thank you for doing this. Yep. All right. We got our teams and we're ready to go. We're ready to see what Drew's drawn up for us. So let's turn it over to Benchwarmer Emeritus Dan to read our rules.
The game will consist of 4 quarters of play, each with different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
All right. Drew, it's all yours. Why don't you tell us what the first quarter is?
Yeah, perfect. So round 1 for you guys, I've got a pre and post game.
Pre and post game. For this quarter, there will be 4 before and after style questions. For example, if I said, what all-time leader in receptions for the Indianapolis Colts was a Notre Dame safety drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, the answer would be Marvin Harrison Smith. Each question is worth 25 points.
Question 1 for pre and post game. He is one of 4 drivers to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times. He first won in 1970, his last win coming in 1987. And this player won the 2017 Masters and defended that title by carding an octuple bogey 13 on the par 5 15th hole. He is now playing professionally on the Live Tour.
Okay, we'll check in.
Perfect. The David Question Fan Club has checked in. That leaves the WNBA groupies to go ahead and talk it out.
Oh, racing and golf is it's tough.
Quite the combination.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was a combination.
You know what, David? I'm sure that'll happen at some point. We'll get to that point where things are getting merged together, right? I don't know. When I think Indy 500, Andretti comes to mind.
Okay.
Especially old Indy 500 at that. I don't know if I can think of anyone else.
So the only thing is that I think the octuple bogey rings a bell, and tell me if this sounds right. I know Sergio Garcia won the Masters. Was it 2017? Because I feel like he's the one that had that octuple bogey.
It might be. I asked a question a while back about him, and maybe it was around that time. So if that's the case, what about Unser? Like Al Unser, he was a race car driver. That would work with Sergio.
Well, if that's a name that works. He's a race car driver,
right?
Like I said, I know the octuple bogey made me think Sergio Garcia, and if you think that's the right time, then
so we're gonna check in with Al Unser Sergio Garcia.
Awesome. All right, so. David Question Fan Club, you guys checked in first. What do we have?
Yeah. So the first part of this question, thinking of drivers who have won a bunch of Indy 500s, the name Al Unser just comes to mind as someone who's done it a lot. I don't know that cold, but once I thought of Al Unser, I have spent a good amount of time this year watching Masters coverage. Every Masters final round is available on YouTube for free. So leading up to the Masters, I watched a bunch of them. Pretty much every year I could for several weeks on end. And so I know my Masters winners pretty cold now from the 90s on just because of that. And then so Sergio Garcia made a lot of sense for that time with Al Unser. So we did also check in with Al Unser Sergio Garcia.
Perfect. Yes, the correct answer is Al Unser Sergio Garcia. Al Unser Sergio Garcia. So obviously being in Indianapolis 500 coming up, we get the billboards flashing fun facts. We hear it on the radio all the time. So yeah, that was one that I saw. And like you said, you get the finals round Masters all the time. And I actually just ended up watching a YouTube video with Sergio where with those flashy colors, wearing that bright orange and bright red, basically draped in the Spain flag.
I just want to make it known that the mixed boys here got maybe the whitest question in Benchwarmers history correct. So, let's go.
All right. Question 2. This legendary coach, over their 38-year career, had every player that began and finished their eligibility within the program graduate and appear in at least one Elite Eight. And This Josh Allen backup was the 6th QB prospect taken top 5 in Chicago Bears history.
True. We're going to check it.
Awesome. WNBA groupies have checked in. That leaves the David Question fan club to go ahead and talk it out.
Yeah, for as straightforward as that first question was for me, this one is not. I tossed out to you, David, the last half seemingly almost has to be Mitch Trubisky.
Right.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
But
something that ends in Mitt or Mitch is just strange. I mean, so it's obviously, I'm assuming Elite Eight is generally speaking would be basketball. It doesn't say whether it's men or women, but legendary and 38 years. I mean, Krzyzewski, Wooden, Bobby Knight,
Pat
Summitt.
Oh, I think yeah.
He does say over their 38-year career. That's almost a hint that it might be. Okay, so then
I think you're right.
Yeah, so Pat Summitt Trubisky. Yeah? All right.
I don't know if we're going to come up with anything better than that. So
no, we're not. All right, we'll check that in.
Awesome. So we've got another check-in. WNBA groupies, what do we have?
Similar conversation, came to the same answer. Checked in Pat Summitt Trubisky.
Awesome. Yep, both teams get points on that one. And yeah, that's just one of those stats that you hear that just sound unbelievable. That everyone that goes through a program from beginning to end was able to, 1, graduate, but 2, that means they had to go to an Elite Eight at least every 4 years.
That's right.
The biggest gap, and that's just unbelievable to think about. For an entire career. All right, on to question number 3. This former first baseman, nicknamed the Big Piece, was the fastest player in MLB history to reach 100 and 200 home runs. He's also made cameo appearances on hit TV show The Office. And this school has had 8 players drafted into the NFL, with the most recent being the 2022 second-round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, we're going to very, very confidently check in.
All right. WNBA groupies have overconfidently checked in. That leaves the David Question fan club to talk it out.
All right. So this is what we got.
We are absolutely positive the first half is Ryan Howard. He was definitely on the Office, and I wrote a question about him not that long ago. And he was absolutely one of the fastest ever to 100 and 200. He was a first baseman, and he was the big piece. So it's got to be Ryan Howard. The problem is that would naturally take us to Howard University.
But then I tossed out to you, I'm like, one of these years they drafted Sky Moore in the second round, out of Western Michigan.
Did Ryan Howard get married when we weren't paying attention? Hyphenate his name, and he's now Ryan Howard West. So he's going to be Ryan Howard, Western Michigan. I don't know. I guess I'm tempted to check in with Ryan Howard University and just call it a day because I can't think of any other schools that start with Ward, right?
Yeah. I think the first half just makes so much sense to be Ryan Howard, given the fact, again, all the things you said, and I know he was on The Office. So I'm fine with going with Ryan Howard University and finding out if there's some player I don't know about.
Yeah, me too. We'll just check in with Ryan Howard University and cross our fingers.
All right. The David Question fan club has checked in with Ryan Howard University. WNBA groupies, what do we check in with?
Immediately, I was like, well, that show's set in Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure I know that Ryan Howard was on The Office. So, and then we both were like, Howard University? I mean, I guess. But then I, too, know that Sky Moore was drafted in 2022 out of Western Michigan. And I also know that they had a second round pick named Brian Cook, the safety from Cincinnati. And all of that to say, we ended up getting right back to saying, I don't think we can say anything other than Ryan Howard University and call it a day. So that's what we checked in with.
Yeah. So the correct answer is Delonte Western Michigan University. No, it is Ryan Howard University.
Wait, so who was the second round pick? That's what I.
Brian Cook also went to Howard. I've got Pro Football Reference as
I would
he
help
is the second round 62nd pick, Brian Cook. Their most notable is 2006 sixth round pick Antoine Bethea. All right, moving on to our final question of pre and post game. Famously scoring 8 points in 9 seconds to playing against Spike Lee, I meant the New York Knicks, to win Game 1 of the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals. And this Eastern Michigan alum played for 10 different teams in 13 seasons, with his most easily recognizable statistic being his height.
Drew, we're checked in.
Perfect. WNBA groupies have checked in. That leaves the David Question fan club to talk it out.
All right, David, the back half of this, anything?
Yeah, well, obviously we know the first half, and it's appropriate given that and time boxing the episode here, but Pacers knocking off the Knicks when they least expected. So obviously it's Reggie Miller.
First Eastern Michigan alum that I can think of is the great Green Bay Packer TJ Lang, who is not the answer to this, I don't think. Actually, I know that he's not because he didn't play for that many teams. So that's no help. So it's like Leroy or
Leroy could work.
It's not Leroy Butler. It's not like Leroy Glover. Leroy.
Good shout, though.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Just start naming all the Leroys I can think of.
I'm
Coy Leroy.
So I mean, 10 different teams in 13 seasons probably is a basketball player, right? Because I mean, football players don't normally go through that many teams.
Yeah, you're probably right. I guess I was on the TJ Lang train. So
no. I'm just trying to think. Like I can't remember the last time an NFL player stuck around for 13 seasons.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, that helps get me off of that funk. Okay.
Oh, Earl Boykins went to Eastern Michigan. It just hit me. I think Earl Boykins went there, and he played for a ton of teams.
Okay,
remember
Earl
Boykins? He was probably late 90s into like 2010 or so.
Okay, yeah, I was stuck on Tall and Lur, but not Earl. Okay,
no. Earl Boykins was like 5'6". I mean, he was tiny. I wasn't even paying attention to that. If I thought of that for a second, I would have been immediately on like Spud Webb, Muxie Bogues, like Mr. Jennings, Earl Boykins, right? I mean, that's
totally.
Fine.
Yeah, I was just thinking the height being tall, not on the short.
Got it. You went the other way, right? Okay, we were going to check in with Reggie Miller, Earl Boykins.
Perfect. All right, WNBA groupies. What do we have?
Yeah, my epiphany happened a little bit quicker than theirs did, but initially I was on the wrong side as well. I was thinking someone who was really tall. Obviously, we had Reggie Miller off the bat, so I'm thinking in my head what fits. And at first, I came to Irvin Johnson, the Buck, Trevor, not Magic Johnson. I was like, oh, that guy was tall, and he definitely played for a lot of teams and was around for a while.
And was bad at basketball.
And was terrible at basketball. And then my head went to Reggie Miller, Renton Wright. And I was like, oh, that would be cool. But he wasn't like that tall. So I was like, I don't know if that works. And then I was like, wait, doesn't have to be tall. And then when I think of Eastern Michigan, the first person I think of is Earl Boykins, because I remember that from seeing him on the NBA games. It would, and it would always stand out to me. So we also checked in with Reggie Mill, Earl Boykins.
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job there getting that one down from NFL back to the NBA. And then shrinking down the answers a touch. It is Reggie Mill, Earl Boykins. Perfect. And at the end of the first quarter, both teams are throwing a perfect game, 100 points to 100 points.
We wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
All right, and that moves us on to round 2, which is going to be 5-on-3.
Five on 3. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized lists containing 5 items, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
So this is originally going to be a little bit tougher, but I'm going to help you guys out a little bit on this one. So I'm going to give you 3 teams and jersey numbers. I just need the player names. So I'm going to need the 5 players from the Atlanta Hawks that have their jerseys retired that are also in the Hall of Fame. Your jersey numbers are number 9, number 21, number 23, number 44, and then number 55.
This is my Shawshank moment.
Do you mean your Slumdog moment?
What did I say?
Did he?
What did I say?
Shawshank
Oh,
moment.
I'm sorry. I meant my Slumdog moment. Sorry.
No, David's right. Shawshank moment.
There's your episode title right there. Shawshank Millionaire.
Oh, man. All right. Write this down. We're going to check in
All right. The David Question Fan Club have checked in. That lets WNBA groupies talk it out.
We're sitting on 4.
I'm trying to think of
this.
those 2K, those all-time teams.
All I ever see like on that one, all I ever think about is Bob Pettit, like on those.
Yeah, and we know that's one of them, but there's another older player. I just can't place it. I think he's number 23.
Yeah, we think we have the other ones. So
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I can pull it.
we'll do the 4.
Yeah, let's do the 4.
Play it safe. All right, go for it.
All right. We are checking in with Bob Pettit, Dominique Wilkins, Pete Maravich, and Dikembe Mutombo.
Okay. The David Question Fan Club. Let's see these answers.
Shawshank moment. Tell us about it, David.
That's right. A buddy of mine who was working for Yahoo Fantasy Sports for a long time, and he retired and decided one of the things he was going to do in his retirement is try to see every NBA arena over the course of X number of years. So we came to my neck of the woods. We went to a Saturday game in Charlotte and a Sunday game in Atlanta. And when the games get, sort of go to TV timeouts and stuff, we start throwing around. We look up at the rafters to see jerseys. Not surprisingly, there aren't that many in Charlotte. But in Atlanta, we were at a game 3 months ago and having this conversation. So 9 is Pettit, 21 is Dominique, 44 is Maravich, 55 is Dikembe Mutombo, and 23 is a guy by the name of Sweet Blue Hudson. He's an old timer guy from like the late 60s, early 70s. So we checked in with those 5.
Perfect. The David Question Fan Club and David himself laying it out exactly as is. The one that I definitely thought was going to stump somebody was Sweet Lou Hudson, being a throwback for sure. It's almost like you had to be there, you had to see it. And that leads us straight into question number 2. Keeping the same theme, the New York Jets have 5 retired jersey numbers in history. Those numbers are number 12, 13, 28, 73, and 90.
We're going to check in.
And the WNBA groupies have checked in. The David Question Fan Club can talk it out.
Right, Trevor. What you got so far?
Okay. Yeah, so we had Namath and Martin pretty quick for 12 and 28. You suggest Don Maynard for number 13?
Yeah, pretty sure. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that, but it's certainly a name I've heard of. What's your confidence level in 73 Klecko?
Oh, very, very high.
Okay.
So Klecko was the one that made me think that Gastineau should be on the list, but Gastineau, I'm almost positive, was 99. So he is, for some reason, and maybe it was longevity, he was not on the list. The one that I'm I think I'm playing a little gamesmanship here, but I think 90 is Dennis Bird, who was the guy that was paralyzed in a game, probably in like his, it was early in his career, like second or third. And I'm pretty sure 90 was his number. So it would make sense if they retired it. So that would give us Namath, Maynard, Martin, Klecko, and Bird. You want to? You feel lucky?
I'm here to have some fun. I say go for all 5, and
all right,
we shoot for the moon. And,
all right, cool.
See what happens.
Cool. All right, those 5 then. You got it.
All right. The David Question Fan Club has checked in. WNBA groupies, what were the answers?
Yeah, we had a very similar conversation. Namath right away. And then I know that 13 is Don Maynard. We obviously got Martin. I knew that I always get the dad and the son confused of which came first. So I was like, it's Klecko. I just can't remember. I think it's Joe Klecko, but either way. And Scott and I had no idea about 90. I knew Gastineau was 93. It couldn't be anybody recent. So we decided to go with 4 again. And that's Namath, Maynard, Martin, and Klecko.
So the correct answers are Joe Namath, Don Maynard, Curtis Martin, Joe Klecko, and Dennis Bird.
Nice, David.
That's absolutely correct. Marcus, you're right. Klecko, Joe was the dad. Daniel was the son, and it's funny because I was on a line of parent athletes that were better than their kids, but their kids had more success. So Joe's like the guy with all the sacks, the retired jersey number, but Daniel has 3 rings.
Right.
Right.
And caught a touchdown in the
That's right.
AFC Championship game.
That's right.
So we got 40 points for the WNBA groupies and 50 for the David Question Fan Club on that one, leaving us to question number 3. The San Diego Padres only have 5 jersey numbers that have been retired in their franchise history. Those jersey numbers are number 6, number 19, number 31, number 35, and number 51.
We'll check in.
Okay, and the David Question Fan Club has checked in. That leaves the WNBA groupies to talk it out.
Yeah, Scott, I took a picture of their Wall of Fame last year when I was in San Diego for Comic-Con. Yeah.
It's your Shawshank moment.
Yeah, this is my Shawshank moment where I'm crawling through a bunch of to get to the answer. Sorry, whoever's editing this.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have Gwen and Trevor Hoffman, obviously. And then I know Steve Garvey is 6. I know Dave Winfield is 31. I just cannot for the life of me remember who 35 is. It's there. They all have, so they have their wall, and it has anyone who's ever played for the Padres. It's in Cooperstown.
Yeah.
That whole thing. And then they have 5 separate, like standalone little plaques for the guys who have retired numbers. And I just cannot remember this dude's at least his last name.
Yeah. Man,
and I don't know if he was a hitter or a pitcher because it was like, I was like, I don't know who that is.
Right. It's not football where the number kind of gives us a
right
position. We've been doing 4 throughout this whole round. So I guess we're just going to follow suit. So,
okay. So checking in with Steve Garvey, Tony Gwynn, Dave Winfield, and Trevor Hoffman.
All right. WNBA group is remaining consistent with 4 more answers. The David Question Fan Club, what do we have?
Yeah, so 6 is current California gubernatorial candidate Steve Garvey. 19 is Tony Gwynn. 31 is Dave Winfield. To build the suspense a little bit, 51 is Trevor Hoffman. And 35 is a guy who, he was a total flash in the pan, was great in the mid-70s, won a Cy Young Award, but I think he had a career-losing record, but somehow still made it to the Padres Hall of Fame, and that is Randy Jones. Not to be confused with Randy Johnson, but Randy Jones. So we checked in with all 5.
Perfect. And the David Question Fan Club has got all 5 correct answers. And David has ruined all flavor text that I have available. Other than he is the only starting pitcher that's won a Cy Young and retired with a losing record. 1 of 1.
Wow.
Well, now I won't forget it.
Forget Shawshank moment. This was your Shawshank round, David. This is impressive.
You know what? When you write questions for this podcast, I do things like look at retired numbers a lot. And so I just, it's not like I just know them. It's because I've studied them.
Taking us into halftime, we've got the WNBA groupies with 220 points and the David Question Fan Club leading the way, continuing that perfect game with 250 points.
That's fine. You guys are going to be Randy Jones soon.
And this brings us right to halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions. Each question is worth 25 points.
This is going to be a little bit of a new round. I've got it modified from a round I play in regular trivia. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an actor and their top 5 grossing movies of all time, according to IMDb, in a random order. For 5 points each, I want you to give me those in the correct order. Make sense?
Okay. Okay.
Give me the correct order by grossing.
By gross.
By gross. Correct.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yep.
My pull Mason here. We'll see.
No, Trevor, this is going to be all you.
Well,
he always says that, and then he'll go 5 for 5.
No, yeah.
Oh shucks, David.
All right. So, question number 1 of halftime. Your actor is Matt Damon. His 5 movies are Interstellar, The Martian, Saving Private Ryan, Oppenheimer, and Ocean's 11. Those are not in the correct order. All you need to do is place them in the correct order.
Dude, we're going to check in.
All right. WNBA groupies have checked in. Let's hear from the David Question Fan Club.
So the list we're working off of right now is what I sent to you, and you swapped it over. Is 1 Oppenheimer, 2 Interstellar, 3 The Martian, 4 Ocean's 11, 5 Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I am positive Oppenheimer is number 1, and I have a strong feeling that Interstellar is number 2.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember coming out and being very popular.
That's the only one on the list I've not seen, by the way.
Okay.
Interstellar, but I feel good about Oppenheimer 1, Interstellar 2, Martian 3, and I I saw both Ocean's 11 and Saving Private Ryan in the theaters, but let's see how crowded were the theaters. I don't really remember. I have no feeling about.
If we have no reason to choose one over the other, then it's just
okay. Then you tell me which one you want. So it's Oppenheimer 1, Interstellar 2, Ocean's 11 3. What do you want to do? The Martian 3. The Martian 3.
Martian 3. Martian 3. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I prefer Ocean's 11 as a film.
Okay. So then Ocean's 11 4 and Saving Private Ryan 5.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. All right, we'll do that. Did you catch that, Drew?
Yep. I'll let you check in. No need to repeat all that.
Okay.
We'll send it over to Scott and Marcus and the WNBA groupies.
Ours is a lot different. Kind of surprised none of the Bourne movies cracked into the top 5, but yeah, we went Saving Private Ryan 1.
Oh,
I know that made a ton of money back in the day. It was like top 3 of that year. We went Oppenheimer 2, Ocean's 11 3, Interstellar 4, and The Martian 5.
oh God.
Are we pointsless?
All right. There is going to be a bit of separation here. So again, this is according to the IMDb as them as lead actors. So don't blame the question, blame IMDb. So for Matt Damon, number 1, you've got what I thought was going to be kind of the given for you was actually Oppenheimer. Massive movie, grossing. They have it listed at $717 million. Interstellar number 2 at $677. The Martian 3 at $630. Saving Private Ryan, a little bit of a drop off to $481. And Ocean's 11 at $450. So the top 3 were all pretty close, and the bottom 2 were both pretty close. The Bourne Ultimatum would have been your 6th answer. So I've got 15 points for David Question Fan Club. And I don't know that I think we might have scratched on that one.
Yeah, no points for us.
All right. And so some Ocean's 11 redemption. We're going to go to Brad Pitt. The second question of halftime. Your Brad Pitt movies are Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Troy, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, and World War Z.
We're checked in.
Oof.
All right. The WNBA groupies have checked in. Let's hear from the David Question Fan Club.
Well, the first thing I said to Trevor was Ocean's 11 had to have made more money than 12. Otherwise, 12 would have been on Damon's list. So we know 11 is higher than 12. And the only other thing I said was I figure with that I put Ocean's 12 at 5 and I put World War Z at 1. And I have no idea what in the middle looks like. So whatever you want.
Yeah. Your message to me was that Ocean's 11 greater sign Ocean's 12. I thought you were making a statement about the quality of the film,
which is also true, by the way. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I have so little to go on here.
Pick a random order. Do you agree with
okay.
World War Z being number 1 and Ocean's 12 being number 5 just for yucks?
Yeah, I can get on board.
Okay, then let's not overtalk it. Pick a random order for the middle ones, and I'll get behind it.
Okay, let's do Mr. and Mrs. Smith 2.
That's number 2. Yeah, sure.
Troy 3.
Ocean's 11. Ocean's 12.
12. Sure.
Okay, we'll check that in. We don't know what we're doing.
All right, the David Question Fan Club has checked in their 5. WNBA groupies, what do we have?
Yeah, watch All Shucks Lux. Get all 5 of these again.
No way. No way.
Yeah, I would have much rather liked this as a lucky 7, just picking the movies. I think Marcus and I would have been a lot better deciphering which movies, not necessarily placing them. So we went 1, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2, World War Z, 3, Ocean's 11, 4, Troy, 5, Ocean's 12.
Okay. Our correct orders are World War Z at 540, Troy at 497, Mr. and Mrs. Smith at 478, Ocean's 11 with 451, and Ocean's 12 at 363.
Got point.
All right. So that leaves halftime with a 30-point round from David Question Fan Club and a 5-point round for WNBA groupies, bringing our grand totals to 280 for the David Question Fan Club, and just behind at 225, the WNBA groupies. This is going to lead us into round 3, which is going to be David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath. This quarter will consist of 3 pairs of questions, one easier, David, and one harder, Goliath. After hearing both questions, the teams will pick one of the 2 questions to answer, either David or Goliath. Each David question is worth 25 points, and each Goliath question is worth 50 points.
David, question number 1. He is the current record holder for most intentional walks in a single season, setting the record in 2002 and re-breaking his own record in 2004. Question 1, Goliath. In 1969, he was the first player to draw more than 40 intentional walks in a single season and held that record until it was broken in 2002.
The Goliath, it says international walks. And I just like to think about that. International walks instead of intentional walks.
So this is a different question, Goliath. Okay.
It means like most number of times walked by Shohei Ohtani. International walks.
Walked around the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought this was like a Forrest Gump, like running around the country, but he was walking around the entire globe.
I was running.
How many international walks?
So international.
Did you see my response? Did you see my
Marcus,
response?
I do see it. It is
with that
intentional.
International walks, I'm inclined to go Austin Powers because he's the international man of mystery. So I'm thinking he must have walked.
Go for Mr. Worldwide. Mr. Worldwide.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? And you're just like testing me.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I want you to have fun. I don't want to.
Trevor, we call that an Eid. When Eve goes, oh, I know, I had no idea that was all you. Yeah, yes, Eric, that wasn't all us.
We're gonna check in.
All right, the WNBA groupies has checked in. Trevor, looks like you get to talk it out.
Yeah. David's playing this fun game where he knows the answer. He knows the answer, and he's just trying to help me get there. So I've been giving you a whole bunch of names. It was Mel Ott, a Giant.
He was, but he played in the 40s.
Too early.
I mean,
yes, too early.
Yeah. So the reason I remember this, and this is what I was saying to Trevor here, was that obviously David is Barry Bonds, but when he set the record, I remember that he broke the record of another Giant great, and in '69,
Nice.
it was too late for Mays. I was way too late for Ott. Who was the other person you said? Thompson. Yeah, Thompson wasn't really much of a home run hitter. He was famous for a famous home run. But the other name you said is I'm pretty sure who it is. Stretch McCovey, Willie McCovey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I know him because of McCovey Cove.
That's right. Well, that's right. That's exactly right, because of McCovey Cove. Yep. All right, we're gonna check in Goliath with Willie McCovey.
WNBA groupies, what did we check in with?
Needed to take a swing. We kind of felt like we needed to go after Goliath. We felt like it was attainable, and we threw out names like Yastrzemski and Reggie Jackson and Hank Aaron, but those were a little late. And then I started thinking about Barry Bonds and how often they talked about Willie McCovey during that 2002 run, and it got brought up a lot. And then I was like, Willie McCovey had some big years and, was a feared hitter. So we decided to take that swing, and we checked in with the Goliath with Willie McCovey.
Good job.
Perfect. Yep. Both teams are going to grab that Goliath points. Correct answer is Willie McCovey. And you're both right. 2002, Barry Bonds had a 68 intentional walks. Followed it up with 61 in 2003 and 120 in 2004.
Ridiculous.
And just keep in mind, he was in his late 30s for all 3 of those seasons. That's, to me, what was the crazy part is you're letting a 38-year-old get on base 120 times for free. That's
yeah.
You don't see that very often, clearly.
The amazing thing is some of those 120, they intentionally walked him with the bases loaded.
Yeah, it's
To be fair, by 2004, the protection in the lineup had severely dwindled from like Aurelia and Ken a few years sooner. So in hindsight, it worked. Like they weren't very successful in 2004, the Giants. So.
Yeah, and it was definitely an interesting one with it being a previous Giant that also held the record as well. So yeah, it's one that just got brought up a ton. Moving on to question number 2. in David versus Goliath. Question number 2, David. This Ohio State alum was the first golfer to win 5 and then also 6 green jackets. Question number 2, Goliath. Elected to the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1983, he became the first player to ever win 3 green jackets, completing this feat back in 1950. His first 3 Masters wins were eclipsed by Arnold Palmer when he won his 4th Masters jacket in 1964.
All right, Trevor, you just said you watched all these Masters. I'm going to leave this one to you.
Yep.
I got David when you need it. Otherwise, I'm gonna bail on you for Goliath.
This is early Masters.
Yeah,
Okay,
Trevor, how's that YouTube footage of the 1950 Masters?
Yeah.
HD.
The best.
Didn't want to tip the hand too early there, but I was laughing
4K.
on that one.
4K.
You see every inch of Arnold Palmer in
Yeah.
perfect detail.
Jeez.
Let's check in.
All right.
Okay. The David Question Fan Club has checked in. That leaves our WNBA groupies to talk out this old-timey golf question.
Yeah, the second whitest question in the history of bench. David goes, if they talk it out, they deserve it. Yeah, before Tiger Woods, we didn't even know what golf was our time. So
You had Lee Elder.
Calvin Pete.
Rodney Pete actually was who I looked up to.
Rodney Pete.
I mean, he got Holly Robinson. Like that was
No, I think I don't even want to talk about Goliath. Who knows? I don't want anything to do with that. So this has got to be Jack Nicklaus for David and be done with it.
sure.
All right, that's what we're doing. Checking in Jack Nicklaus, David.
All right. The David Question Fan Club. What was your answer?
Yeah, likewise, David was Jack Nicklaus all day and twice on Sunday, and we can name a bunch of old golfers, but I don't know. We didn't know this. This is not just old. This is really old. Like this,
This is pre-YouTube old.
Yeah,
That's old. Right. This was we decided to check in with the David of the whitest answer of all time, Jack Nicklaus. So still no clue on Goliath. Let's hear it.
The David answer is Jack Nicklaus from The Ohio State University. Shout out to Mr. Bomback there. Your Goliath answer is Jimmy Demerit. Yeah, he's a name you don't hear very often because he didn't win very much. He just happened to win 3 very, very short time frame green jackets.
Huh.
I'd like to see if Mason would indulge me, Rodney Pete wearing a green jacket.
These golf questions are a Jimmy demerit to this podcast, let me tell you.
Oh man. Too forced.
Golf's a timeless sport. Gotta love it.
True.
All right. Question number 3. David, number 3. He is the current record holder for most goals scored in a single season, racking up 92 of them in the 1981 and 1982 season. Question number 2, Goliath. He's the first player to ever score over 70 goals in a single season, doing so in the 1970-71 season, scoring 76 goals, while playing for a team that is east of my hometown, Indianapolis, Indiana.
We will check in.
The David Question Fan Club has checked in. Let's hear from WNBA groupies.
Do you even want to bother with the Goliath? Because I just...
No, the only thing black at a hockey game is the puck.
Oh my God.
No. Popeye Jones is out here with 2 sons in the NHL.
No,
Subban.
I was just quoting the movie Hardball when he tried to sell them Red Wings tickets, and the guy.
I almost bought a G Baby jersey this afternoon. I was a little hungover, and this Instagram ad sucked me in, and I was like, oh man, I do need a G Baby jersey. Anyways,
Cumbas.
So
Wayne
Gretzky.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna check in with the David with Wayne Gretzky.
All right. The David Question Fan Club. What did we check in with?
So this has come up on the podcast before, and I don't remember who started it, but the answer is Phil Esposito.
It actually crossed my mind for a second, Marcus.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yes, because of Despacito, of course. So that's why I wrote it with hyphens when I was writing it up for Trevor. But yes, it's Esposito for the Goliath.
Awesome. And your correct answers are for David, Wayne Gretzky, and for Goliath, it is Phil Esposito.
Damn it. I thought about it, but I had no confidence because I was like, I don't know if that's even hard enough to be a Goliath. Like,
yeah.
But I was like,
it's one where
Boston.
Yeah, we're not too many of us are big hockey guys, so I figured we'd throw kind of like a mini softball in there. And after round 3, we have the WNBA groupies with 325 points, trailing to the David Question Fan Club with 405 points. And that will bring us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
So for fourth quarter, put your fours up. We've got your categories as never peaked, pertaining to the NBA, peaked early, pertaining to the MLB, peaked late, pertaining to the NFL, and every year is a peak year, referring to everyone's favorite PGA Tour. It's now time for the teams to place their wagers.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Okay, and now that the wagers are in, we can jump into the fourth quarter. All right, question number 1. Never peaked in the NBA. This draft bust was picked number 2 overall. His career averages are 2.2 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 0.8 blocks per game. He played for 4 teams across his 5 NBA seasons, never able to blossom into the NBA rim protector. His 4.2 blocks per game in college showed that he could be. He played college basketball further east than all 4 of his NBA teams.
All right, we're checked in.
Your WNBA groupies have checked in first. That leaves the David Question Fan Club to talk this one out.
Yeah, David, when the question was draft bust pick number 2 overall, for me being I guess a bit younger, the first one that comes to mind is a bit. Yeah. I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I immediately we immediately crossed. You sent me Hashim Thabit, which I think makes a lot more sense because my guy was Sam Bowie, who didn't play for 4 teams, but he was a clear number 2 bust. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that would qualify. Did Thabit actually end up playing for 4 teams?
I don't know. I don't know how many teams he played for. What I am pretty sure about is that he was drafted number 2 overall, and he was a draft bust. Well, I know he was a draft bust. I believe he was number 2, and focusing on the numbers of rebounds and blocks.
It's got to be him.
Indicates he's a big man.
Yeah, and Sam Bowie wasn't that much of a rim protector even in college. I recall. So it's got to be. I think you're right. Let's do it. Go ahead, check in.
Okay. All right. We'll check in with Hashim Thabit. All right, and we checked in for 50. We wagered 50 points.
WNBA groupies, talk you out your answer.
Yeah, we typed the same name to each other right off the rip, which made sense. Playing further east than all of his teams at UConn just made sense. We also checked in with Hashim Thabit for 100 points.
All right, and then both teams are going to be receiving their points. The correct answer is Hashim Thabit. Hashim Thabit went to UConn, which is going to be further east of most of your NBA teams there. He played for Memphis, Houston, Portland, and OKC. The one you might not remember is Houston. He only logged 7 total games in 2 seasons. Let's move on to question 2. Peaked early to the MLB. He was snubbed for Rookie of the Year in 1985. This player was a 20-game winner during his first full season, a mark he never matched again. He finished with exactly 1,000 strikeouts and 1 perfect game over his 12-year career. He played for 1 team in a Central Division for his first 11 seasons, wrapping up his career with 1 final season in Kansas City.
All right, we're going to check in.
The David Question fan club has checked in. That leaves us to hear from the WNBA groupies.
Everything points to Brett Saberhagen until the last sentence.
At least that's how we felt about it. Yeah, so
But he was on the Royals. So to then, the question makes it seem like this guy moved to the Royals for his final season. So then he couldn't have been a Royal previously, even though that is the Central Division team. I think we just go with Brett Saberhagen anyway.
okay.
So we're going to check in with Brett Saberhagen for 100 points.
The David Question fan club, what did you have for the answer?
Yeah, so I was trying to think about guys who I remember pitching perfect games and going back pretty far. Meanwhile, Trevor was throwing out teams, and I was trying to think of, we were both trying to think of people who pitched for certain teams. We were trying to think, I was like, I know Teddy Higuera pitched a perfect game, or was pretty sure he did, and he pitched for the Brewers for a long time. And so eventually, I was thinking about folks who sort of got close to that. I don't remember him pitching for the Royals, but we eventually checked in with a guy who I remember coming up in the mid 80s, and that was Tom Browning. So we checked in with Tom Browning for 100 points. I know he pitched a perfect game for the Reds.
Yes, the correct answer for 100 points is Tom Browning. So he came up in September call-ups in 1984, and so his first season as a rookie was 85. He had a 20-game win season that year, didn't come top 5 in Cy Young, and was number 2 in Rookie of the Year voting. Brett Saberhagen played for 4 teams, played for more years, 16 years, predominantly a Royal. And funny enough, in 1985, he also had a 20-game win season. So it is
That's
kind of funny how those did match
kind of
up quite a lot. Yeah. Question number 3, peaked late in the NFL. This running back had a career of 2 halves. He had a pretty lackluster first 5 seasons, only totaling 2,800 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. But in his final 5 seasons, he totaled 7,600 rushing yards and 40 rushing touchdowns. If you want, you can still catch him making TV appearances on shows like the Food Network's Chopped.
We're going to check in.
We have the WNBA groupies checking in. Let's hear from the David Question fan club.
Okay, David, you threw out Tiki Barber as an option. You've seen him on stuff before?
Well, he's just the kind of guy. I mean, he's just the kind of guy who shows up on shows. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. He showed up at the NFL draft some weeks ago. I was there, and he was just there.
He shows up on shows.
He does. He's I don't know. He's a good looking dude, and he shows up and he smiles, and I just feel like, I don't know. He's also top of mind for me because I asked a question about him not that long ago. Those stats of being just over 10,000 yards sounds about right. 55 rushing touchdowns sounds about right for his career. I didn't specifically remember that he came on in the second half, but that wouldn't be a huge surprise to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have nothing else to go on. We don't have years or anything. So
I don't know enough about his career to know, he was not great first half, but I think he was a mid-round pick, or he was late pick. So he wasn't expected to, wasn't expected to come on and be great early. That's a name.
Okay, then let's do it. I don't think I'm going to come up with anything else. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
We'll check in with Tiki Barber.
And for how many points?
Sorry, we wagered 100 points on this.
Let's kick it over to the WNBA groupies. What did we have for an answer on the wager?
Oh boy, we had a nice little conversation. Got to go down memory lane. We thought about Thomas Jones, Stephen Davis, Larry Johnson, Michael Turner, lots of guys who didn't quite match up years wise, but did have that arc of being a slow to start and had a flurry at the end. We talked about Charlie Garner, and then I went, wait a minute, what about Tiki Barber? And then Scott was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on Chopped, and I was like,
he's a good looking guy that kind of shows up and smiles.
Yeah. Well, he can't talk about the game. I know that. He should shut up when it comes to that. But yeah, and it just made sense because he had that fumbling problem too. Like early in his career, he wasn't very good. They had other backs. He had the fumbling problem, and then once that Super Bowl season happened, pretty much it seemed like every year after that he had really good seasons. So we also checked in with Tiki Barber for 100 points.
Perfect. And yes, both teams sussed that one out pretty well. It is Tiki Barber. Yeah, he's on a handful of different Food Network TV shows. My wife and I's kind of guilty pleasure. He's been on Chopped. He's been on the $20 Chef cooking salmon tacos. He's been a 15-year judge on Iron Chef America. So, I mean, he's been on there
I had no idea.
a long time. I changed that one up after talking with my wife about it. She says, "Oh, I know him from the cooking shows." I'm like, let me add that in. That's so funny. Plus, obviously, adding that in gives you guys a better sense of time frame. Obviously, it's not going to be like an old school. So that's going to take us into the final question of the game in the fourth quarter, which is going to be every year is a peak year pertaining to the PGA Tour. This former PGA Tour player had some of the most incredible stretches of dominance in any sport, period. He holds the record for most PGA Tour wins in a row with 11, a streak that included the only major that was played that year, the PGA Championship. His other most notable streak is 65 consecutive events placing top 10 or better. He finished his career with missing only 11 cuts in 287 starts. 206 of his finishes ended with top 10s. 152 ended with a top 5 finish. This is miraculous considering he retired at the age of 34. He was inducted to the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1974. A friendly hint is this player also has a golf event, a PGA golf event, that has his namesake in the title.
Just because this will be fun to listen to, we'll check in.
All right. The David Question Fan Club has checked in. Let's hear some golf talk from the WNBA groupies.
All right, Marcus, this is the last question of the game. People are expecting a show from us, so let's go full tilt on this.
What the hell is
Okay. So if I had to
guy?
rank first game outfits, I would go Kelsey Plum 1. I'd go Cam Brink 2.
Yep.
Oh, you meant about this question.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, our WNBA rankings is more entertaining than us talking about golf. But do you know any events that are named after someone?
Named after someone? No, not really.
All right. I can't think of many like namesake events. There's like a Bob Hope Classic event, but I don't think that's right.
I don't think there's a Lee Trevino Players Championship.
No, not yet. If there was a No Hope event, that's what we would be playing in right now. That's what this Benchwarmers game is. The No Hope Classic.
Yeah.
So we name it,
and we're 18 under.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to be under 18 anymore.
Oh no!
Oh,
jeez.
I told you we were going full tilt.
Softballed it in there like that. All right.
cut these guys off, Drew. Drew, cut them off. Cut them off.
Oh,
this is your fault, David. It'll be fun to hear these guys talking out. He says. All right, so a golf name. That's what we're coming down to, right? Like we're just gonna name a white person name, like a last name. It's not, this guy retired in 1974. This is a white guy. This is before.
Well, yeah.
Right. So
take it easy.
We need a white last name, but like a guy that would golf, like McNulty,
or like Walter, Abe Walter or something. I don't know.
Abe Walter, not even an S, not even Walter. It's just Abe Walter.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Let's just pick a last name. I don't.
We don't have much to go off of. 74, he was 34. Or well, no, he was 34 and retired Hall of Fame in 74. So it's like a 40s, 50s last name.
Oh my God.
So maybe McNulty. I don't know if I like it for that time frame. Let's see. How about Grant?
All right. Sounds good. We'll check in Grant for 25 points.
All right. David Question Fan Club. What did we check in and what was that wager?
I thought you might go with old podcast favorite Jimmy Demerit as your answer.
Well, he told us it wasn't a double demerit, so
that's fair. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of old golfers, but only a couple of them that I can think of have names associated with a tournament. You've got an Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, I think. But the more classic one that I know, and I think David knew this pretty cold as well once you get that hint, is the Byron Nelson. So we checked in with the Byron Nelson for 50 points.
Okay. And yes, the correct answer is Mr. Byron Nelson. Yeah, just scrolling through some of those kind of time frames, you hear about Tiger's dominance, and then you hear some of the other guys from before his era talk about how you see the dominance from Byron Nelson, how that doesn't even compare what he was able to do, and then you add in that he retired at 34 just to run a ranch back home in Texas. So the things that he was able to do is just, mind-bogglingly absurd.
We guessed the white name, and it ended up being the name that sounds like a fourth-string defensive back. Great.
All right. So that does end and conclude today's game. WNBA Groupies finished up the game with 400 points. The David Question Fan Club finished with 705. And there will be the Clipcord captains of today's game, earning the Old Tom Morris Trophy.
Nice. Very cool. Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
I'll take 400 points. We scored more points but we barely scored as many points as Matt Damon has movies.
Matt Damon.
So
It's very close. Drew, let me be the first to thank you for writing this game, for supporting the podcast, but we always love when people write the game and come on and ask a bunch of golf questions to these poor guys. Luckily, my partner knows a lot of golf. So I'll also thank Trevor for support for the podcast and coming on and being my partner and leading us to victory. So thank you for that.
Well, leading us is very generous there.
I think it was a good partnership.
That's all Shucks Lux again.
Yeah, exactly.
Lux.
So, Trevor, let's go to you first. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
This was a treat. Thank you, Drew, for some golf questions, some old-timey golf questions too.
Yeah.
So I'm always happy to be on. It's always a treat to be here with you guys, and as long as you have a Patreon, you can count me in. So
very cool. Well, you come on anytime you want. We'll schedule you again.
Well, he
Drew?
pretty much does, David.
That's true. Drew? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, I had a really fun time. It was fun listening to you guys talk about, laugh out some names, have a good time. I think it might have been a different game if Shawshank Redemption hadn't been made. Might have been a closer game there. I tried to throw you a new-timey golf question there too. I always write a ton of questions. I write a ton of questions for general trivia as well. I've got plenty more in the bank, so should you guys ever want me back, I've got more games ready to roll.
Very cool.
An all golf episode.
Oh, well, we'll have to make sure that Marcus and Scott know ahead of time.
We're going to put that behind a paywall, I think.
But Wally will definitely sign up for that one. Yeah. So, Drew, you want to take us out of here with our tagline?
Yeah, you bet. And thank you for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch. Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at BenchwarmersTP.